Good afternoon and welcome to Nutmeg Sports here on the HAN Network. It is Monday, November 7th. We are officially done with championship week, Don, and it was a blast from start to finish. Just great games across the board, ending with that thrilling volleyball championship Saturday afternoon. Couldn't have asked for a better week to start the fall postseason.
You know, it was one of those weeks that just reminds you of why you love high school sports. You know, the teams playing hard for for their friends, for their school, for themselves. It really was a lot of fun.
Just every game for the postseason, the championships, down to the stretch, all tight games, no blowouts, which was great. Saturday afternoon, can't state it enough. Just so much fun to be a part of. The atmosphere in the Ludlow Gymnasium, back and forth from start to finish, going the full 5 sets, and at the end of the day, we're able to crown a first-time champion in the FCAC. Yeah,
and the games were just as competitive as can be. It was almost like A B. Who's going to win that 5th game? And as we've said it before, volleyball just translates so well to the screen. For a broadcast, it really is it was a phenomenal thing to watch.
We will have full coverage. Full recap of all the championship games from last week. We'll take a look ahead at the state tournaments that we have coming up. Of course, there was some breaking news for the girls soccer state tournament that we had not too long ago. But before we get to all of that, we do have Athlete of the Week winners to announce from Week 7, as well as preview our Week 8 nominees. Starting with last week winners, the female Athlete of the Week from the Trumbull cross country team was Caitlin Romanchik, who finished first individually at the Class Double L Cross Country Championship. The senior had a time of 19 minutes, 22 seconds for the 3.1 mile course at Wickham Park, helping the Eagles finish 4th overall in the Class Double L race. Don, why don't you tell us about the male Athlete of the Week?
Yeah, it was Ryan O'Connell of New Canaan football. He had 3 interceptions and also scored 3 touchdowns as New Canaan improved to 7-0 with a 43-0 shutout of Norwalk last Friday at Dunning Field. O'Connell scored on a pick 6 on the first play of the game, later added a rushing and a receiving touchdown while tallying over 100 total yards of offense, and as we mentioned, in addition to intercepting 3 passes for the Rams. So congratulations to Ryan and Kate.
And Ryan and Caitlin will now both be winners of a new Athlete of the Week HAN Network pullover. We'll be sending those out to all of our previous winners and future winners here for Athlete of the Week starting this week. Now, for this week, Don, we just mentioned Ryan O'Connell. Ryan missed the second half of the Rams football game this past weekend. Ryan's younger brother, Quentin, just missed out on being named an Athlete of the Week. The sophomore having 3 touchdowns for the Rams and just missing getting the nomination. Why don't you start with the female Athlete of the Week nominees for Week 8, though?
Sure. The first athlete nominee is Katie Jasminski of Ridgefield Soccer. Katie scored the only goal in the FCAC championship game, lifting the Tigers to a 1-0 lead and their 2nd straight conference title. Jasminski's goal came in the 54th minute off a Grace Franklin free kick. Your next nominee is Emma Rosen of Wilton High Field Hockey. Rosen scored on a penalty stroke with 4 minutes and 7 seconds remaining in the 2nd overtime to win the FCAC championship for the Warriors by a score of 1-0 over Staples. Annabelle Pollock, Greenwich diver, a sophomore, won the 2016 FCAC diving championship with a score of 421.75 over 11 dives last Wednesday at the West Hill High School pool. She was 3rd when the field was cut to 16 competitors after 8 dives, then rallied over the final 3. Pollock was one of just 4 divers to break 400 points in the final. Your next nominee is Andrea O'Connell of Stanford Volleyball. O'Connor was the MVP of the FCAC Girls Volleyball Tournament as the Black Knights claimed their first ever conference championship with a 3-2 win over McMahon on Saturday. A junior outside hitter, O'Connor collected 18 kills and had 10 blocks in the 5-set win. And your final girls nominee, Marcy McGuire, Ridgefield swimmer, named the most outstanding swimmer of the FCAC championship meet, which was won by the Tigers with a score of 340 points. McGuire took home 4 first-place medals as she won the 200 freestyle, the 100 backstroke, and was part of Ridgefield's winning 200 medley and 400 freestyle relays. So congratulations to all the nominees and good luck.
And for the male Athlete of the Week nominees, we start with Corey Babineau of the St. Joseph's football team. Babineau ran in a 7-yard score to tie the game against Staples High and then threw a pair of touchdowns to lead the Cadets to their 7th straight victory with a 24-17 win over the Wreckers. This was the first time since 2000 that St. Joe's had knocked off Staples. Babineau completed 18 of 28 passes for 292 yards. Second nominee, Matthew Restrepo of Trumbull Soccer. Restrepo had a goal for the Eagles in their 3-2 semifinal victory over Danbury, and also added an assist on Trumbull's only goal in the FCAC Championship title game against Greenwich. He was also named the tournament MVP. Zach Ahmad from Staples Cross Country clinched his third championship in as many races, winning the CIAC State Open meet in Wickham Park on Friday. The FCAC and Class LL champion Ahmad finished the 5K course in 15:46, edging out Prep's Drew Thompson by 1 second. Ahmad's win helped Staples capture the team championship as well, and the Wreckers have now qualified for the New England meet on November 12th. And finally, Will Litton of Wilton Football rushed 15 times for 125 yards and 1 touchdown, and added an interception and a fumble recovery on defense as well, as the Warriors shut out the Guilford Indians 31-0 on Friday night. Litton set the tone early by scoring on a 56-yard run the first play from scrimmage, and the Warriors are now 5-3 and still alive in the CIAC Class L playoff hunt. So those are the 9 Athlete of the Week nominees for Week 8. Make sure you get online at HAN.network and vote for your winner. Don, we now switch gears here. We're going to take a look at the volleyball tournament. We were live Saturday afternoon at Fairfield Ludlow High School for the FCAC Championship in girls volleyball, featuring 2 teams looking to win their first ever conference championship. In what was the finale of the HAN Network's Championship Week coverage, we saw what may have been the most exciting game all week between Stanford and Brian McMahon. Let's take a look at the highlights from the championship game right now.
If Stanford takes the point, they lead 1-0. Far side for Pellegrino.
That one falls into the net. Stanford takes the first set.
And what an exciting first set it was. 25-23. Just get this in. In play. They go right back to Morton on the far side.
Great defensive play.
They've got to come over from the back line. Jacobo, is it going to go out? It does. We're tied up at 1. You could tell the Black Knights looked a little uncomfortable in the middle there.
Unmentioned night, but she's had some great defensive play throughout the set so far.
All the way across on the second touch. Ball is off the fingertips of DeJager. And the Stanford Black Knights now a set away from their first ever FCAC championship. It's 2-1 at the end of 3.
Girl, don't give up. Fight, fight, fight.
One more time, she gets it. Dardis.
Communication. Now that we need them to reset.
Free ball opportunity.
Outside for Morton.
Going up. We're going to play 5.
They're going 5. What a way to finish from Taylor Morton.
Both teams sent over to their benches. What a fourth set. 25-19 for the Senators. We'll be back with the 5th and decisive set. Stanford has to win by 2. They lead 14-11.
Good serve for Morton going outside to O'Connor.
She goes up. She got it! Stanford, for the first time, are champions of the FCAC in volleyball.
So in their 4th attempt, Stanford is able to win their first ever FCAC championship by a final score of 3-2. The Black Knights have been runners-up in 1996, 1997, and 2000. It was the junior Andrea O'Connor who was named the tournament's MVP. Both Stanford and McMahon have earned first-round byes for the state tournament, which will begin this week, but we talked about it in the pregame, Don. It was going to be O'Connor and Pellegrino back and forth who would determine this game, and as great as Meredith Pellegrino was, Andrea O'Connor absolutely deserved to be named the tournament MVP and help push Stanford to their first ever title this weekend.
Yeah, and and how exciting is that for the kids? You love seeing that. Especially 2 teams, both. Going in, one team is going to win its first ever FCAC championship, and just the excitement, the build-up, and the hype, and then when the match lives up to the hype, and you just see you see the emotions pour out when Stanford finally won that 5th game. It's just a great scene, great atmosphere, great tournament.
Oh, it was so much fun. Both student sections were so loud throughout the entire match. At times, the officials had to stop the game, as Dave Schultz and several other FCAC officials, to back them up off the court, let them know when they're allowed to be chanting. You had to feel for McMahon, who just fought back through so much. They were trailing early in that 4th set, and you thought, okay, Stanford's defense is going to tighten up. They hadn't lost a set in 6 straight games. There's no way they lose 2. McMahon goes on this huge run. The junior Taylor Morton, who was just so emotionally spent afterwards, I really pulled the Senators through that 4th set, climbing back, and then it was a great 5th set. Final score was 15-11, but it didn't feel like there was a 4-point difference down the stretch there.
No, it's one of those where, like, we always say that the final score is not really indicative of just how close the game was, and that clearly is one of those. I mean, that had the feel of like a 1-point of a 1-point set.
It was a lot of fun to be a part of. You can watch the whole game on demand at HAN.network. And again, congratulations to the Stanford Black Knights. For the first time, they are the FCX Girls Volleyball Champions. Let's take a break here on Nutmeg Sports. When we get back, Kevin Coleman will join us on set, and we take a look back at the 3 championship games from Thursday night last week. That's boys soccer, girls soccer, and field hockey right here on the HAN Network.
1, 2, 3, Abby! You know! I want to find out how good I am. Yes, sir! If you relax, you get blown out. Let's get it done! Let's get it done!
What can you take advantage of right now?
Again, come on! I can push myself way beyond what you think.
Pressure technique.
Bring it back!
Connecticut is coming back to hometown banking, to a partner that makes small businesses feel big, where community comes first, where high-tech tools go hand in hand with a human touch, where you get the know-how only neighbors can deliver, where saving time is important too. It's time to expect more. It's time to bank well, bank smart, bank local, bank well.
Have a sports injury or a slip and fall that needs immediate care? Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care gives you direct access to an orthopedic specialist fast, without an appointment. Biking, golf, tennis, soccer, whatever the sports injury is, sprain or fracture, Coastal Ortho Express can help. Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care, open Monday through Saturday, now in 2 locations. The iPark building at 761 Main Avenue in Norwalk and 36 Old Kings Highway South in Darien. Or go to coastalorthoexpress.com, like them on Facebook.
For unique and special holiday gifts, come to Touch of Sedona, a spiritual boutique located in the heart of Ridgefield, Connecticut. We have plenty of unique pieces, including Native American and equestrian jewelry, crystals, candles, incense, and books, as well as an ever-changing showcase of artists, intuitive practitioners, healers, and lots more. Happy holidays from Touch of Sedona, 452 Main Street in Ridgefield. Visit us today. Open 7 days a week.
Give your day a jumpstart with the latest news, sports, weather, and more on Coffee Break, live on the HAN Network, weekdays at 11 a.m. Connecticut news doesn't get any more local than on Coffee Break.
On Election Day in Connecticut, the HAN Network has you covered with real-time results and analysis.
Will your town vote for Trump or for Clinton?
And who will be representing you in Hartford and in Washington, D.C. HAN's news reporters and editors will be out in the field talking to the candidates, collecting results, and we'll be breaking it all down on air with live local analysis you won't find anywhere else.
Watch Connecticut Election Night 2016 live
November 8th at 8 p.m. on HAN.network and Frontier Communications channels 600 and 1600.
Welcome back to Nutmeg Sports here on the HAN Network. Frank Granito, and I'm joined now by Kevin Coleman. Kevin, you were with me for 2 of the 3 championships last week. We had boys and girls soccer, and we had 1-2 matchups in both tournaments, and I thought they lived up to the hype across the board.
You're right, they absolutely did. And I thought the girls' game was terrific. I thought it was a lot of high drama, especially coming down to the end, Richfield scoring that goal in the second half. And then the boys' game, you talk about even more drama. Both teams coming down the wire, thought they both had chances in overtime, in extra time to score. They couldn't, ending up as co-champions. But even though they ended up as co-champions, I know at the time it's difficult as a player to think you have to share a championship with another team. But I think looking back on it now, a couple days they have to think about it. They have to be so proud of themselves. This is the 2 best teams ending up in the championship game. No losses on the year, and they play each other in the championship game. It's unfortunate, but you have to stick your head up and say, congratulations to both these teams for ending this year with no losses and in the FCAC.
And we start with that boys game. Greenwich and Trumbull, the number 1 and the number 2 seed, both undefeated coming in, and they played to a 1-1 draw. Flavian Lolo scored for the Cardinals in the first minute with a McLean assist off a free kick, and it was Daniel Fulchik for the Eagles in the 48th off a corner kick from Matt Restrepo. Restrepo would go on and end up as the tournament MVP. And before we get to the highlights, you talked about the disappointment and then being able to look back on it, Kevin. What stood out to me was as time expired, you almost got the sense that both these teams had lost. They were walking off the field, hanging their heads, and it just didn't feel right for the end of a championship. But it was the moment when they handed the tournament MVP trophy to Restrepo, and the way his team reacted, just the jubilation out of him winning that trophy, that was when you got the sense that both these teams were both winners on the day.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, you hit it on the head. I think, when time did expire, you saw both teams' players, laying on the field in disbelief, almost in a way, disappointed. You're right. It did feel like almost both teams lost that game. But when Restrepo handed that award, that whole Trumbull team came out. Both teams handled it with so much class. And again, just an outstanding year for both teams.
An outstanding year that they should expect to continue that success in the CIAC state tournament. But before we get to that, let's look at the highlights from the 2016 FCIAC Boys Soccer Championship.
Keeper for the Cardinals, barking out orders. Free kick coming towards the cage. He buries it. No doubt about that one. The Mustangs with an early lead. Opportunity here. Trying to slow it down. Through ball back his way. Working towards the middle. With the left foot sent towards the cage. Skelton can't get enough of it. And he buries it in the left corner.
Miscommunication there. That was the semifinal game. But you look back on it now, and Kevin, as we get ready for the state tournament, how do both these teams come out of this game and they don't dwell on, okay, we are co-champions, that little hangover there. How do they get ready for the first round of states and prepare to make a run now to be the state tournament champion?
Oof, you're right. They can't have a hangover. They can't dwell on them being co-champions. I'm sure, at this point, they have to move on. Today they're starting training for the state tournament. I know Trumbull is getting ready. They had the first round bye, so did Greenwich. They're starting their training this afternoon, and they're going to move on from this. And both teams are strong, but they're going to play some great teams in this second round. So they have to be ready for teams. They have a big target on their back, Frank, and they need to know that, and they need to play composed. They're a good enough team. Both these teams can end up seeing each other in the final or the semifinals.
Before the boys' game, the girls' soccer championship was played for the second year in a row. It was number 2 Ridgefield playing against number 1 St. Joe's. Little less drama this year because St. Joe's did not come in undefeated. But I think after defeating the Tigers earlier in the year, the Cadets were probably a favorite heading into this game. And for the second year in a row, they fall at the hands of the Tigers. This time 1-0 as Katie Jasminski scored the only goal in the 54th minute. This was a Tigers team that we've talked about their offense all year. Alex Damron, Grace Franklin, and of course Katie Jasminski. The defense won this championship for Ridgefield.
It did. You mentioned Grace Franklin. She had that free kick that led to the Katie Jasminski goal off the top post. It was a good attempt by Aurora to make the save, and Jasminski, being the great striker that she is, she has a presence for the goal. She's right there waiting for the rebound. That's just a good mindset. Every good striker has that. She does. She proved it in the championship game, and it's funny how, again, 2 years in a row, Ridgefield comes and beats St. Joe's, and you got to tip your hat to St. Joe's. They had a great season. We saw them a couple times here on the HAN Network. I thought they were excellent, and I thought the first half was slow. Talking to some coaches who were there watching the game a little bit, the championship game for the girls, and some parents as well. They thought the first half, was very slow. Both teams couldn't find their identity right away, and possession-wise, a lot of sloppy turnovers. It was way too congested in the middle. And then in the second half, you could tell that Ridgefield made the adjustment. They started playing out wide. They started to have nice possession, getting good attempts. Jasminski was getting more involved, and there you go. You get that free kick just around midfield, and you get that on frame. Jasminski's right there, and they score. So, that's the adjustment I think Ridgefield made at halftime, and you got to credit that back for the Tigers. They shut down Lindsay Savko, who we all know is a huge threat up front.
Clearly proved to be the difference in that match. We have some highlights from the Girls Soccer Championship. Let's take a look at it right now.
We are all too familiar with, but a new chapter put on top of it.
A year ago, they were undefeated coming in, the number 1 seed St. Joe's Cadets, only to see their perfect season ruined by the number 2 seeded Richfield Tigers. Just missed connecting on that last one. This time she sends it towards the cage. Off the crossbar, the header, it's in! This celebration has begun on the Richfield sideline. 2-1, it's over. The Tigers are your back-to-back FCAC champions in girls soccer. So congratulations to the Richfield Tigers, who have won their second consecutive FCAC championship. The other game Thursday night was the Field Hockey Championship for 2016. That was played at Brian McMahon High School between the number 1 Wilton Warriors and the number 2 Staples Wreckers. And for the first time ever, which is hard to believe, seeing how they are 6-time state champions and 6-time runner-ups, the Wilton Warriors reigned supreme in the conference. Emma Rosen scored on a penalty stroke with 4:07 remaining in the second overtime. Emma Likely, the Warriors goalie, was named tournament MVP, and the Warriors are able to knock off the Wreckers by a score of 1-0. Let's look at the highlights from the championship game.
From a windswept Jack Casagrande field here on the campus of Brian McMahon High School, it is FCAC Field Hockey here on the HAN Network tonight, the championship edition between the number 2 seed Staples Wreckers and the number 1 seed Wilton Warriors. Good evening, everyone. I'm AJ Simonowski, and that will do it as the final reset comes up with nothing. We are tied 0-0 after 1. The reset to the near side, and that will do it for regulation in the FCAC championship game at Brian McMahon High School. Blasted ahead, Rosen is there, but Likely Fine has the line on it. Poked away by Rosen. Ball is in the circle. Rosen comes up with it. There will be a stoppage. With 4:07 to go. And we will have a penalty shot. Whistle blows, the shot, and she scores!
Congratulations to the Wilton Warriors, your 2016 Field Hockey champions for the FCAC. Let's take a break here on Nutmeg Sports, but when Kevin and I get back, we're going to take a look at the CIAC state tournaments coming up for boys soccer, girls soccer, and volleyball.
This is now 44 years I've been in this business. Digital came along. After I was in business for about 6 years, I had to totally reinvent the business. So I had to make a tremendous investment in my business. And Milford Bank was there for me. I don't really just consider Milford Bank a bank. I consider them a trusted partner in my business. My name is Jim Wilson, owner of Milford Photo. I choose to bank with Milford Bank.
At InSports Trumbull, the game is always on inside. Recently renovated and home to one of Connecticut's largest indoor turf fields, InSports is a multi-sport recreation center providing state-of-the-art facilities for league play, camps, and youth programs. Sign up now for InSports Passing and Receiving Positional November Soccer Clinic, scheduled for November 19th. Sessions are available for U13 to U14, U15 to U16, and U17 to U19. Featuring college coaches from around the region, this is your official home of Connecticut's Olympic Development Soccer Program. For more information, visit insportcenters.com.
Walter Stewart's Market in New Canaan is your time-saving local shopping destination for the best of spring. Find many of your favorite products, from great specials on everyday items to the freshest organic produce, artisanal cheeses, and grass-fed steaks. Drop off your knives to be sharpened, grab a beautiful bouquet of spring flowers, and stop in next door for a wine tasting. Plus, their personable staff is always ready to lend a helping hand. So stop in to Walter Stewart's Market, 229 Elm Street today, or shop online at stewartsmarket.com.
Hi, this is Leo Carl from Carl Chevrolet in New Canaan, and you've heard me talk about the Chevy Volt for years. The new model gets 53 miles on EV charge daily, plus 420-mile full range. But don't take my word for it. You need to come in and test drive the Volt yourself. Visit us at 261 Elm Street in New Canaan or online at carldirect.com.
I'm John Kovach. I'm a newspaper editor. I'm a high school football coach. I'm a television presenter. And I want you to love fishing as much as I do. Tune in to Yankee Fisherman, Thursdays at 1 on the HAN Network. It's like going to the tackle shop without leaving your office.
If you're watching this broadcast, you're not alone. The HAN Network is available for 200,000 Connecticut cable customers on the Frontier Network. And we've also reached 1.7 million viewers on our free live streaming sports, news, and entertainment broadcasts. To reach our rapidly growing audience, contact Advertising Director Jessica Murrin at 203-273-7312 or email jessica@han.network.
Back on Nutmeg Sports on the HAN Network, we shift gears now. We go back to the boys soccer pitch. And we're going to take a look at the Class LL state tournament, and we'll start with the play-in games that were taken on Saturday. This past weekend, there were three FCX teams in action, as we see here. West Hill with a big win over Career Hillhouse, and then a great one from Tiger Hollow, but Ridgefield stumbling in PKs and losing to Norwalk 1-0 overall.
Yeah, that one stings. No, credit Norwalk, and they've had a great year, and that was actually a really good game. Two teams I thought really matched up well with each other. I thought both midfields played well. I thought, very equal. And speaking to Coach Bergen, obviously disappointed that the game ended that way, especially for those seniors. But credit Ridgefield for getting to the state tournament. He was very proud of the team for getting there. And from Norwalk, they move on. They play Trumbull now, and that's going to be a really good game. It
does set up a nice all-FCX matchup in round one. If we take a look at the top of the bracket, the number 1 seed in the tournament is Naugatuck. They've got Kennedy, Prep in Manchester, Cheshire and Simsbury, and an FCX team. Stamford, the 24 seed, gets Glastonbury. That's a tough matchup for the Black Knights, Kevin.
It is. Glastonbury, always a good soccer program. They've been, such a good program for so many years. That's going to be a really close game for a 9 and a 24 seed. For Stamford being a 24 seed, I would have thought they would be a little bit, I thought they would have had a little bit of a better seed, but, I think they're going to come out fighting in this game. So if you're Glastonbury, you got to be careful.
So moving down the bracket now, we take a look here. Darien, the 13 seed, they've got Conard. They will play the winner of Farmington and Amity. New Milford and Xavier. Staples at 21 has got South Windsor. Another all-FCX matchup, Greenwich and West Hill there, that 234. Does West Hill have a chance against Greenwich, or are the Cardinals still too much? They're able to roll through the first round, despite having already beaten West Hill this year.
I think they're too much. This is a team that will come out quick on you. If you're West Hill, you got to be careful. Greenwich will come out quick, so you have to, if you're in the back four, you got to be careful about that. I think Cardinals have too much high power against West Hill. I'm going to take Greenwich in this one.
Looking at the bottom of the bracket here, Shelton and West Haven. Then you've got Wilbercross and Hamden. Trumbull and Norwalk, as we mentioned. The winner of that game could be playing against Fairfield Ward. We think they will be able to beat East Hartford. I think Skelton bounces back, has a big game in the first round. And at the bottom, a rematch of the FCX quarterfinals. You've got Danbury and Fairfield Ludlow. There's some good matchups at the bottom of the bracket down here.
It's funny how they match up with each other again. You see them in the quarterfinals for boys soccer, and here they are again meeting in the state tournament. It's pretty funny that they're meeting against each other. That was a great game that they put. This is going to be a fun game to watch.
For the girls' tournament, Kevin, in Class LL, there was issues within the CIAC seedings. Suffield, who finished the year 16-0 and is a Class LL team, was originally seeded into the Class L tournament. I'm not sure exactly how, but this slipped through the cracks until an hour ago when teams were arriving on location for their first round games, only to find out the tournament had been completely reseeded. So Suffield is now fitted in as a 2 seed, but a lot of the FCX teams anticipating playing someone, it's been moved around and they've got different games now. Let's take a look at the top of the bracket there. You've got Glastonbury as your 1 seed, Southington and Shelton. First FCAC team we will see. McMahon travels to Newtown, the number 8 seed. Staples and New Canaan. That game being played at Staples, Enfield and Hamden, and then Wilton and E.O. Smith. So a couple of SCAC teams who we expect to cross paths at some point from the top of the bracket there.
Yeah, this game, Wilton, E.O. Smith. E.O. Smith, good soccer program for boys and girls. You know, it's funny they're the 20 seed, but I expect them to come out fighting against this Wilton Warriors team. If you're the Warriors, you got to be careful of this game.
Moving down the bracket now, the 5 seed is Cheshire. They'll play against Ludlow. You've got West Hill and Danbury in that 12-21 matchup. Suffield, as we mentioned before, in Simsbury. Ward will travel to West Haven. And then you've got Amity and NFA. 4 more FCAC teams there. The girls producing a lot of teams into this tournament, Kevin.
Yeah, it's good to see. It's good to see FCAC well represented. They also have some buys as well, which is good to see. You know, we get to see Fairfield Ward go up against West Haven. That's going to be a really good game. I think, you know, for a 15-18 game, it's going to be a really close matchup between these two. You know that, you know, obviously PKs are in state tournaments now, so you have to worry about that, especially for the higher seeds. You know, in the lower seeds, you got to worry about, you know, PKs because any team can win at that point.
3 more FCAC teams at the bottom of the bracket. Ridgefield is a 3 seed. They play against East Hartford. Darien, the 14 seed. They will host Trumbull. We could be seeing a rematch Ridgefield-Darien in round 2. And, of course, with the schedule change, Kevin, games were supposed to be played this afternoon. They have now all been moved to Wednesday for the start of that tournament. In the L bracket, we just want to quickly mention St. Joe's is a 3 seed for that tournament. They have a bye. They will be playing against either Mercy or Ferran. They're the only other FCAC team in the state tournament. For volleyball, the double L tournament, this should be a lot of fun. So we look at the top of the bracket. Granito, of course, the 1 seed with a bye. They potentially could play against Fairfield Ward, who missed out on the FCAC tournament, and we had Coach Narwhal with us. That's a hungry Mustangs team who was 7-1 at one point in time in the conference and finished 8-8. You've got Glastonbury playing against Wilton, and of course Ridgefield sitting at number 4 with a bye. Moving down the list, you've got Hamden at 13 and New Britain, the winner playing against Ridgefield there. McMahon at 5. They wait E.O. Smith and South Windsor. Amity at 2. NFA and Danbury. Southington on a bye. Shelton and Conard. Stanford, the 3 seed. Staples at 19. Stanford Staples in round 2, Kevin, would be a lot of fun to see.
It would be. Good FCAC second round game. That'd be a lot of fun to watch. You mentioned the Greenwich. Potentially they could play the Mustangs who are hungry. What about the Cardinals? They're hungry too. They wanted that FCAC title. So that, if they match up against each other, watch out. That's going to be a great game.
The last 2 matchups, Cheshire is the number 6 seed. They have a bye. They'll play the winner of Trumbull and Darien. It's scary to think of Darien as a 22 seed. Trumbull, the 5 seed. Trumbull, the 5 seed in the FCAC, Kevin, lost to Greenwich. That's a big matchup for them. We could be looking at Stanford and McMahon potentially meeting in the championship again. Ridgefield and Greenwich, who lost in the FCAC semifinals, could potentially be matching up in the quarters. We could see Greenwich and McMahon again in the semis. There are a lot of great matchups across the board here. I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun, and we had a blast doing the volleyball on Saturday afternoon. That atmosphere, I can't express it enough. It was just great to be a part of all day long.
It was. I had a blast being there as well. And if that tournament indicates anything, this just means the state tournament's going to be even better because you had the 3 and the 4 seed playing in the final, and that game alone was so much fun to be a part of. So you think about these other seeds, not just the 1, 2, and 3 seeds. You think about the 4s, the 5s, the 6s, the 7s, the 8s. They could potentially upset some of these, you know, very good teams and end up in the championship or the semifinals or whatever you name it. You know, this tournament could be very fun. We could have some Cinderella stories. So that's something to keep an eye on.
And we talked about it during the broadcast that what made this FCAC tournament just that much more fun was Darien was out early, and all these teams felt it was their conference up for grabs in a world where Darien had won 15 of the last 17 volleyball championships. It's going to be very much the same for the state tournament now where Darien has dominated, but you just can't sleep on Darien as a 22 seed, though. Still, they could make a run.
They could. Yeah, they could for a 22 seed. You know, imagine them winning the state tournament as a 22 seed. That's a good story in itself. But yes, watch out for Darien. Watch out for Stanford and McMahon. They're still very good. They're coming off, a big championship game. McMahon should not, obviously, the loss was, tough, but keep your heads up. That was a heck of a performance from both teams. I mean, we had a blast covering this game. The fans that were there, the student sections there, made it so much fun. And that last fifth set, I mean, I haven't been a part of a better volleyball game than that.
McMahon definitely benefits from the bye in that tournament, so keep an eye on that. For field hockey, we'll have more coverage for you tomorrow with games starting on Wednesday, but there are a couple of play-in games this afternoon featuring FCAC teams. Trumbull will travel to Simsbury, Ridgefield will go to New Milford, and Fairfield Ward will go to Hall. Those games for the FCAC for the CIAC field hockey tournament, but we'll have more on that tournament tomorrow. Kevin, thanks for coming on today. That's going to do it for this show. A lot of fun. Congratulations again to all of our tournament MVPs tournament champions for the FCAC this season, and good luck to all the teams heading to the CIAC. We'll be back with Nutmeg Sports tomorrow at 2 right here on the HAN Network.